Lie 1. Christopher Columbus discovered America. In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed west from Spain with 3 ships and changed the world forever. He crossed an ocean nobody had crossed before. He landed on new soil, opened up an entire continent to European exploration. Schools called him the man who discovered America. He never set foot on North American soil once in his entire life. Columbus landed in the Caribbean, the Bahamas, Cuba, Hispaniola. He made 4 voyages. Not one of them touched what would become the United States. But more than that, 500 years before Columbus was born, a Norse explorer named Leif Erikson sailed from Greenland and landed on the coast of what is now Newfoundland. He built a settlement there, and before Erikson, indigenous peoples had been living across every corner of the Americas for at least 15,000 years. Columbus didn't discover a new world. He discovered a world that was already full of people, 5 centuries after a Viking had already visited. Lie 2. Hair and nails keep growing after death. In 1929, a German doctor named Heinrich Wilhelm Gottfried von Waldeyer-Hartz documented something morticians had been reporting for years. Bodies in the days after death appeared to show continued hair and nail growth. Funeral workers swore by it. Writers put it in novels. Horror films made it a staple. The idea that something in the body kept going even after everything stopped became one of the most persistent biological myths in history. Nothing is growing. The moment the heart stops, the body loses its blood supply and cells begin dying within minutes. Hair and nails are made of keratin, a dead protein that requires active follicle cells and a continuous blood supply to produce. Without either, production stops completely and immediately. What morticians were actually observing was dehydration. As the body loses moisture in the hours after death, skin shrinks and pulls back from the base of the hair and nails, making both appear longer against the receding tissue. The body isn't growing anything. It's contracting. The hair and nails you see are exactly the same length they were at the moment of death. The skin around them just isn't where it used to be. Lie 3. Humans only have 5 senses. Around 350 BC, a Greek philosopher sat down and made a list. He looked at the human body and counted what it could do. See, hear, smell, taste, touch. 5 senses. He wrote it down, and because his name was Aristotle, nobody questioned it for the next 2,300 years. Your body has somewhere between 9 and 21 senses depending on how you count. Proprioception tells you where your limbs are in space without looking. It's why you can touch your nose with your eyes closed. Thermoception detects temperature changes on your skin. Equilibrioception keeps you upright. None of these made Aristotle's list. 2,000 years of science education built on a list one man wrote before anyone understood how the human body actually worked. Lie 4. You must wait 24 hours to report a missing person. In 1974, a woman in suburban Ohio noticed her teenage daughter hadn't come home from school. She called the police. The officer on the phone told her there was nothing they could do. She'd have to wait 24 hours before filing a report. She waited. By the time investigators started looking, the trail was cold. There is no law that has ever required that wait. No legislation, no policy. Police can begin investigating a disappearance the moment you report it. And investigators have a name for the first hours after someone goes missing. They call them the golden hours because that window is when evidence is fresh, trails are warm, and the chances of finding someone alive are highest. The 24-hour myth came from individual officers at individual precincts informally turning families away. Not policy, not law, just habit that spread until an entire generation believed they had no choice. They always had a choice. Lie 5. Rosa Parks was the first to refuse her bus seat. On December 1st, 1955, a black woman in Montgomery, Alabama refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white passenger. She was arrested. Her arrest sparked a 381-day boycott that became one of the defining moments of the entire civil rights movement. Every school in America taught her story. Every child learned her name. Her name was Rosa Parks. Except 9 months before Rosa Parks, a 15-year-old girl named Claudette Colvin did the exact same thing on the exact same bus system. March 2nd, 1955, coming home from school. 2 officers handcuffed her and dragged her off the bus. She was 15 years old and she said, "History had me glued to the seat." The civil rights leadership knew about Colvin immediately. They made a deliberate decision not to build the movement around her. She was a teenager. She was dark-skinned. And by the time Rosa Parks was arrested, Colvin was pregnant. The movement needed the right face. Colvin became a plaintiff in the Supreme Court case that actually desegregated the buses. She won. And then she disappeared from every textbook that ever existed. Lie 6. Humans evolved from monkeys. In the summer of 1925, a 24-year-old substitute teacher named John Scopes was put on trial in Dayton, Tennessee, for teaching evolution in a public school classroom. The trial made international headlines. Two of the most famous lawyers in America faced each other in the courtroom. Outside, vendors sold lemonade and toy monkeys to the crowd. The whole spectacle was broadcast on radio to millions of listeners. What Scopes taught his students that got him arrested, that humans descended from monkeys, turned out to not even be accurate. Humans did not evolve from monkeys. Humans and monkeys share a common ancestor that no longer exists, a species that branched millions of years ago into two separate evolutionary paths, one eventually leading to modern primates, one eventually leading to us. Evolution doesn't move in a straight line from one species to the next. A monkey didn't become a human the same way a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. Two completely separate species developed from the same root, the way two rivers split from the same source. The man arrested for teaching evolution was teaching a version of it that Darwin himself never proposed. The trial that shaped how America teaches science for the next century was fought over a myth. Lie 7. Seasons are caused by Earth's distance from the sun. Johannes Kepler spent years calculating the exact shape of Earth's orbit around the sun. By 1609, he had proved it. Earth doesn't travel in a perfect circle, it travels in an ellipse, which means its distance from the sun changes throughout the year, closer in some months, farther in others. Every classroom took that fact and built the wrong conclusion on top of it. Earth is closest to the sun in January, the dead of winter for most of the world's population. The distance changes by about 3% across the year, which has almost no effect on temperature. Seasons exist because Earth's axis tilts at 23.5 degrees. When the northern hemisphere tilts toward the sun, sunlight hits at a more direct angle and days grow longer. When it tilts away, the opposite. The southern hemisphere has the reverse, which is why Australia has summer in December. Distance is nearly irrelevant. The fact that Earth is literally closest to the sun during northern hemisphere winter, and school never mentioned it, is the quietest detail in this entire list. Lie 8. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. The Empire State Building is 443 meters tall. It is one of the most recognizable structures on Earth. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. The Empire State Building gets struck by lightning between 20 and 25 times every single year. You put a rod on the highest point of a building specifically to attract lightning to a safe path to the ground, over and over every storm. The phrase, lightning never strikes the same place twice, has no scientific basis, no known credible origin, and was never true for a single day in the history of electricity. It just sounded wise enough that people stopped questioning it. Then someone put it in a classroom.